Hey, I'm Chris, and I'm going to be reviewing the movie God Grew Tired of Us by Christopher Dillon Quinn. Now, this movie is basically a documentary that follows a group of boys, the Lost Boys, who had to escape Sudan because of the war that was going on there, and they fled, and big trek, and thousands of them made it into a refugee camp. And now, the movie, the documentary, it follows a group of them, about 6 of them, who came over to the United States, into Philadelphia. And so the movie, it takes place and it shows how they grew accustomed to our culture and how everything was new to them. In the very beginning, they come to America and the landlord is showing them their apartment, and he has to walk through the apartment and show them how an on-off switch works and how to flush a toilet and what a bag of potato chips is, because it's you don't have to cook this, it's already made. Just open the bag and start eating it. And this is a new concept to them. And at first you kind of look at it and you're like, wow, this is kind of sad. And then you're like, well, at the same time, they don't know what this is. So this movie follows them as they get jobs and as they go through their lives, finding their parents. All this stuff happens. And, it's okay, so what does this movie have to mean? What does it mean to me as an audience member? Because, this movie, it's to anyone. Little kids can watch it. They might not get all of it, but they'll understand that, there are people out there who need help. And then adults, they see that, wow, there's people out there who, their culture is so different than ours that they really need help, they need support, they need money, they just need. And it's okay, so that, that's the message. We need to help others. So this movie says, these people went through a really rough time and they're still willing to fight it all. I mean, they just need a little help. So then, that kind of covers it, right? Because, as a Christian, all we have to do is we have to help people. Well, that's a good message. Don't get me wrong. It's an excellent message to take from the movie. But there's another one that I'd like to show, in that, these lost boys, they went through everything. Some of them lost their parents. Some of them, witnessed, they had to bury their friends. They're just horrific things. And yet, they haven't turned away from God. Their faith is so strong. They'll even question the little things. At Christmas time, it shows a part where they're like, what is a Christmas tree? What does it have to do? Is it in the Bible? No one could tell them what the meaning of the Christmas tree was and how it had to do with the Bible. And in their minds, it was so then, we'll have one, great, because that's what culture says, but why do we need it? Why is it so important to Christmas? That doesn't have anything to do with the nativity, Jesus being born, nothing like that. And their faith was just so simple. It was just, love God. Is this what God wants me to do? And so, one of the messages that I think we can grab from this is that, there's too often in life, we make religion complicated. We make just loving God so complicated when all He really wants is us to love Him and do what He wants us to do. That's all. That's all we need to do. And even in the Bible, God makes it really simple. Jesus states that, there are 2 commandments that we need to follow. And that's love God with all your heart and then love your neighbor as yourself. That's all we have to do. And yet there are times when we go into religion and we're like, well, we need to focus on what we dress like, what we do in church, because that's all really important. It's really not. As long as you love God with all your heart and you love others just the same, you're fine. There's nothing else that needs to be done. Everything else comes from that. But you don't have to sit there and go, oh, there are kids crying in the back seat. We have to go, the back pew. We need to go and silence them because it's disrespectful. They need to learn too. But not by getting screamed at and yelled at. How is that loving? That's just, you're ruining the worship experience for me, so I'm going to keep you quiet because, it hurts me. That's not loving anyone else. That's not even really showing God love, because you're saying that your God is so confined, so constricted that He doesn't even like it when little kids scream. Or they're little kids. And even in the Bible, Jesus says, let the little kid come unto me. He's the one who says, hey, stop pushing them away. Let them come. Because by coming, they'll learn. And so this one message is that we need to accept people. We need to make our faith basic. We need to just love God. And the other thing is that, bad things happen. Bad things are going to happen. This is life on earth. Bad things will happen. They do happen. But that doesn't mean that we start running, that we start hiding, that we leave our faith behind. Because no. God, knows that bad things are going to happen to us. And we can say, oh, but God doesn't feel our pain. He knows nothing. Are you kidding? I'm pretty sure that Jesus knew more pain, more suffering, had more temptation than any of us put together. Because not only was he fully human, he was fully divine, which means that he was fully human and got tempted the same way that humans get tempted, and was fully divine. Now, personally, because of my nature, I have to think about this. What would have happened if, someone, number one, went up to Jesus and, really ticked him off? Okay, because God can't get mad at him. Jesus can't. He can be upset, but it's he can't lash out at him. He can't, do that. And yet he's got his 100% fully divine self that's get rid of them. He could have just said, you're gone. And the guy would have disappeared. Because he's God. He could have done that. So not only does he have to, worry about not sinning, he has to worry about not hurting other people, because he can with, a thought. His single thought could just get rid of it. And it's wow, that's so much suffering. And then to top it off, God had to watch his son become a man. He just be tortured, put through ridicule, and then die to save a fallen people, us. People who don't even deserve it. But it happened. And so we need to know that we need a basic faith, and we need to know that bad things are going to happen. But with God, we can get through it because God knows what it's like. God feels our pain, and he is right there with us, comforting us every single step of the way.